I want to thank y'all for coming. It's been a long time coming, but it's a part of public law is public meetings to give you guys a chance to weigh in and ask questions, get information. So we're going to provide information and then provide some time for you to ask some questions so you better understand what the new Poplar Place is going to look like, even if it's going to stay called Poplar Place. It could be everything. So I'm going to let the mayor make a few remarks, and then we're going to turn it over to our presenter.
Well, thank you, Alderman Williams. Appreciate your great work and steadfast work on this important project. And those of you that grew up in Springfield or been here at least the last 20 years, Poplar Place probably is Evergreen Terrace. That's how I first knew it. And it goes way back to a history. At the beginning it was good, but then it turned to a high crimed area and dilapidated housing, and that's what we're trying to transform. So we appreciate the relationship that we built with Related. It wasn't always easy, but we got to the point that we're at finally. And IDA has approved the funding for the project. It will be, I'll let Treg Durson go through the particulars, but it's tens of millions of dollars. It's going to transform the area, and we built a replica several years back, pre-pandemic, of the direction we wanted to take. So if you want to see what it looks like, just go up Livingston here, and then you turn into Poplar Place, and on one of the corners, I think it's Oakdale, it has one of the houses, or duplex units, that were transformed into a single-family house. And so that's the intent, is to lessen the density, and where it's 50 duplexes, I believe, and then 50 housing units, 50 duplex units. And then right now I think it's over 200 duplexes, units. And so we'll lessen the density, make it more of a friendly atmosphere, a safe neighborhood, so it really blends in and complements what's happening in the surrounding areas with home ownership, with the development that's happening with School District 186, what will soon happen with Brandon, and moving that direction. But I'll turn it over to Treg Durson. He's with Related, and he's really helped us with this project, move it to the point that we have it today, that soon we'll see next year the transformational change that we'll make for generations to come.
All right, thank you. And thank you for having me. I was here about a year ago presenting on Poplar, and I recognize some of the faces around, not only in this meeting, but in other meetings in the past. So it's good to be back. I'm excited that we're at this point, that we're months away from starting. And this is a great project. We're really excited to get it moving, to reimagine and reinvigorate Poplar Place. So I just want to start off by giving a short presentation of overview on the project, and then we'll open it up for questions. So, as the mayor mentioned, Poplar Place was built in the 1950s. It's about 23 acres. Currently on site, it has 244 units that are mainly in duplex townhomes. So there's about 142 duplex townhomes. Over the past year, almost year and a half, we've worked with the City of Springfield, the mayor, the alderman, the Springfield Housing Authority to develop a plan. And we thought the best plan for Poplar is to reimagine it to be a mostly single-family home community with some duplexes. Currently on site, there's only about 30 households on site. So that's about 15% occupancy throughout the site. What we're proposing is to demolish 66 structures and then renovate the remaining 75. 50 of those structures will be single-family homes. The other 25 will be duplexes. So in total, we'll have 100 units. In the end, Poplar will remain a affordable housing, low-income housing to moderate income development. 100% of the development will be at or below 60% of the area median income. Our unit mix will have 52 bedrooms, 52 bedrooms. 10 of those 2 bedrooms will be ADA units, 43 bedrooms, and 4 10-bedrooms that will be ADA compliant units. In addition to completely renovating those townhomes, We are going to build a new main entrance off of Old Rochester Road, construct a new management office and community center. Just to the right of me is a rendering of the community center that will be off of the new main road on Old Rochester Road. And on the left of me is a site plan of the new proposed site plan of Poplar, which will be, as we all mentioned, more open and have a good amount of green space, given that a lot of the demolition work will be centered in the middle of the property between Sherwood and Oakdale. The total project cost is a $38 million project. $21 million will be in hard cost, so that's roughly $215,000 to $220,000 of costs going into each individual building. The scope is essentially a gut rehab where we're taking all the buildings down to their studs, doing new siding, completely new interiors, cabinets, appliances, new roofs, all that it takes to build a home that could have a life for at least 15 years. And that's ultimately the goal when you do a low-income housing tax credit project like this, is that you really have to be heavy in the front end to ensure that the life of the project carries on until the next 15-year mark, which would give us the ability to further renovate it. I want to stop and say, we're also doing this development with the Housing Authority and their affiliated nonprofit, the Capital City Coalition. The Capital City Coalition will be a joint development partner with us. They're affiliated with the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority will be our property manager following construction. We are really excited to bring the Housing Authority on, given their local expertise. They'll not only be great in leasing the property, it'll be great in operating the property, and really having people that are from Springfield, live in Springfield, operate the property will put us in the best position to be successful. Now with the renovation, and we're going to talk about it a little later on this evening, is that we see this as an opportunity to be a great workforce development training opportunity. As I mentioned, the hard cost on this project is a little bit over $21 million. It's 100 units. What's different from this project compared to a comparable project is that it's done in townhomes, single-family homes, and duplexes. Typically, when you have a project with this size of a budget, it would be in a high-rise or a mid-rise, where the construction requires a higher level of expertise and much more specialized individuals. This is an opportunity where it's fundamental, back to the basics construction work, where this can be a great opportunity to bring in people to learn the trades and to take part of the trades going forward. We're thrilled to be able to work with Bone. I see Calvin's here tonight. I'm sure we'll invite Calvin up and later on tonight to answer some questions on workforce. But it's really important for us that the people that are working on this project look like the individuals that live amongst and around Poplar Place. So it's important for our agenda that workforce development is a key component to this. I want to talk a little bit about the tenants that are currently on property. As I mentioned, we have 30 households on property. We are going to reach out to each household to understand their respective needs. We're looking on to bringing on a consultant to talk to them about if there is a need to do temporary relocation. We will help them with moving expenses, help them with living expenses, and then they'll be able to return back to the property once the property is completed. There will be some cases where individuals are living in an area that's not going to be a heavy demolition-centric area that they could potentially stay on site. But all of those housing and relocation, we want to get it right for each particular household that is on site. Of those 30 households on site, We know that 20 of which are voucher holders with the Housing Authority. That gives us more confidence and insight in the Housing Authority's ability to assist with those families and returning them to the property and keeping them on the property. And then the other 10 are non-subsidized long-term housing tenants that happen to be on the site. Now, a little bit about the schedule. We are on schedule to close with IDA in November. Go to IDA's board in November and then close in January. So we would start construction as early as mid-January. We feel great about the success of the development, and a good portion of why we think this is going to be a great plan is, number one, the high development costs that I mentioned. It's roughly $215,000 a unit. In looking at the east side of Springfield, we've noticed that there's a substantial amount of demand for affordable housing, particularly new, modernized affordable housing. Once this is done, this will be some of the most modern housing stock in Springfield. So we're really excited about bringing this investment to the east side of Springfield. The partnership with the Housing Authority, not only are they going to be an operating partner, they're also going to help us with a project-based contract on 25 of the units, where 25 units will have a project-based voucher with the property. So, without getting too technical, what that ultimately means is there's people with vouchers who can move to different properties as they choose, and the voucher stays with them. In this particular case, those 25 units, the voucher will stay with the property for at least 30 years. And that gives us an advantage for creating more income that can ultimately be used to develop the property and sustain the property going forward. So we're really fortunate to have the Housing Authority's approval of that and relationship. With the demolition of the 66 buildings, there's going to be a significant amount of open and green space created. We think this is going to be a beautiful amenity that will be offered to the residents of Poplar. As I mentioned, it's about 23 acres across the site. So, once this open green space area is opened up, it's roughly about 5 acres of green space and park space. And, adjacent to the community center that's on my right, there'll be a playground. And within the community center, there's going to be a amenity for tenants to use for baby showers, birthdays, where the space has a kitchenette and then can be opened up, and then you're kind of facing the landscape and playground. So, all of those reasons are why we think it could be, why we know it will be a successful project. We're really excited to be at this point. As the mayor mentioned, it's taken longer than it should have. And this past year has been a year of great partnership and trying effort. Now, to accomplish this project, we've realized that there's a development gap in the project, which essentially means that our cost, our revenue doesn't necessarily, we're not generating enough income to cover our costs, where we had to negotiate with the Illinois Housing Development Authority to close our costs. We had a $6 million gap. The Housing Authority committed to providing us about $5 million in subsidy to allow us to get to this point. We're now also in conversations with the city about the remaining $1 million that's needed to fulfill our gap so that we can fully construct and begin the project. I know I said a lot there. We're here to be interactive, so with that, I'd like to open it up for questions.
Since the meeting is happening here, not unfortunately, but there's some people who really believe that 1 in a million is, Mike, we need a job. Mike, how can I get a contract? Mike, how can I get this? And I invited all of them to the meeting. Some of them are here tonight. So when does that process of when you're going to start hiring your contractors and hiring your people from the neighborhood to be a part of this program going to start? And if need be, I've got some office space. I would open it up and let you and all of them in the city come in, because it's just right down from the project, any type training. But when is that process going to start to where I can say to these individuals, hey, on this day, you can start putting in applications, or you can do this, or you can do that, for jobs and contracts.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, the process is ultimately started already. And what I mean by that is with Calvin and Bone, we've identified areas in our scope where we think is a good fit for Bone and a good fit for workforce development. You know, a portion of that is electric, interior demolition, landscaping, and through partnership with Calvin, we're going to develop a program where we can find individuals who are local, who can come in and apply. I think Calvin would probably be the best person to talk about.
So it's going to go through Bone.
Exactly.
Okay.
About the process of bringing people on board and having them on throughout the project. But the process has started already. It's mainly been planning right now. But once we can close on the development, which will be in January, that will then give us the resources to fully start, both on, you know, the demolition and you know, moving the bricks and sticks, as well as getting people in place.
Questions, anybody? Mr. Chapman?
I've been on 25th Street for over 30 years, and I've seen a lot of work done in the Poplar. I seen one time where they made everybody move and they put new air conditioners in and fixed it up. Within a year's time, they tore it back up again. What kind of guarantee that, I mean, the Poplar is not the only place where a lot of people would stay. You can go on all over town. A lot of people are grouped up in different areas, but they don't allow them to come in there and tear it up. So who's going to be over this so this won't happen again? You know, you spend all this money on it, in 5 years' time, it look like another slum again. Who's going to be over that?
Right, yeah, that's a good question. You know, one thing that I believe in is that when there is vacancy, that creates bad activity. Like if Poplar right now only has 15 tenants, or excuse me, 15% of occupancy, 30 households on site. You know, with that, there's a lot of people who come through Poplar just to fly dump, or there's a lot of squatters who are accessing buildings to do Lord knows what. My point is, when there's a high amount of vacancy, the bad actors tend to come to the property to destroy it. So that would be one point, is that, you know, if we can revitalize the Poplar by this amount of capital that's coming into it, we can reach an occupancy level where you have eyes on the site, where people want to live there and there's activity, and that will help bring the bad actors out. So that's one component. The second component goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, where for projects like this that are funded by the state with tax credit deductions, there's regulations and rules that only give us a 15-year period to really act with a full amount of capital. So Poplar has had an interesting life. You know, Related purchased Poplar in 2000. By purchasing in 2000, they did a renovation. The renovation, quite frankly, was a little too light. I think we only did about $15,000 a unit. You know, now this current renovation is at $215,000 a unit. And when you start in 2000, you would really only have another window to really get another crack at it until 2015. But between that period, I think in 2010, Related converted some of those duplexes into single-family homes. It was a very, very light touch-up. We took 40 townhomes and created, 40 townhomes and created them as single-family homes. So it wasn't a significant rehab and a significant amount of work, and quite frankly, occupancy has never been at a point where it was very high. So that would be my second point, is that the renovation budget will be there. And then lastly, a security plan. So we're looking to block, right now there's two entrances on 25th. There's Poplar and then Sherwood. We're going to put a temporary barrier on Sherwood and 25th so that there's only one entrance off of 25th Street. And then we'll have the main entrance off Old Rochester Road. And on the 25th Street entrance, we'll have license plate readers as well as license plate readers on the Old Rochester Road entrance. So what we're trying to do is just limit the amount of access points within the property and also have a better understanding of what vehicles or who is coming onto the property. And this is a security plan we spoke with the local police department about.
Now, will you have opportunity to buy, or they'll just be renting?
This is a rental property, so they'll only have the ability to rent. With our funding, we are required to keep the property affordable for at least 30 years. And we want to preserve affordability at Poplar. So our goal is to maintain a thriving and quality, affordable property.
And who's the renting agent?
Oh, the ultimate manager and leasing agent will be the Springfield Housing Authority once we're out of construction.
Let me see that and respond to it. So as you know, if I had my way, we would have closed Livingston, we would have closed both of them over there on 25th Street. But things like the ambulance and the fire department and other people get to weigh in and say safety first and response time first. So we're getting the best that we can get. I do like the idea that, Old Rochester Road is the main entrance and the main exit and things like that. So there is some improvement there. As far as making it go back, I was excited when Related got it because Related did Madison Park Place. And I'm looking at Madison Park Place today, it never went back. But it's all about changing minds and hearts of people. I'm asking Ernie Bankhead right now, hey, when this gets done, can they become a part of the neighborhood association? They may say no, they may say yes. If they say no, then we create a neighborhood association. I think the streets can never go back, Mr. Chappell, because the city is taking over the streets. Them are going to be city streets instead of private streets. There's a big difference. We'll never let them get as bad as some of us know they got. The tree lines, the utilities, what CWLP is going to do, putting them underground. It'd be just like the green box, like right next door at Eastview. So there's a whole lot of those little bitty changes, but the key to it not going back has got to be changing the hearts and minds of the people and supporting the people and remembering the surrounding neighborhood associations, Eastview, Ernie Bankhead, them are not the same people that are going to be coming. We have to have those vouchers. They have to have a percentage. There has to be a percentage of affordable housing in Springfield, Illinois. With me being an alderman, knowing that we're getting ready to raise Brandon Nix, this is where they start talking to me and having to teach me why we have to have so many percentage of vouchers and then what Brandon's going to look like, because poor people have to be able to live somewhere that they can afford. And we have to have our fair share. So all of us together, working together, I think we can prevent it and make it just like Madison Park Place where it doesn't go back. Now, I saw a couple of hands. I saw Calvin, we'll let you go. And then I saw Mr. Woodford, you'll follow Calvin Pitts, and then Teresa. Yeah. So, did you need a mic?
No, I think it's okay.
Well, just saying, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I was going to add to the, the place stand, the way we put it, make it look good. I think that we ought to look at, like you said, Madison Park, because management is going to be huge. If you have, systems in place and, you got do's and don'ts, and then you have a system that's going to hold people accountable, that's going to make your neighborhood better. And then, of course, neighbors like you, that care about where you are, I think it's going to make
Well, I haven't got too old now.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're visible, though, still. Yeah, and then we're also going to add, he mentioned earlier, there's going to be some training pieces that's going to be offered, not only for the tenants. We're going to have some training for people that rent the property. We're going to work on some trainings, some things, small things that they can do to keep their neighborhood looking good, keep things, in operating position, to be able to teach them to work on preventatives, And then the other thing I was going to say is, when you engage the people in that community, that makes a huge difference too. I tell people all the time, the biggest thing you can do, for a community when you're doing something is involve the people in it. Because if you get me landscaping and then that kid coming to a paper, when I just can't wait to show you, and then he's throwing paper, hey, pick that up. you seen that? That looks nice, you know, and that'll just replicate it. People will, you know, I think it'll grow on people, and the other kids will tell the other kid, hey, my dad just did that, pick that up. And so those are just some of the things that's going to make a difference, I think.
I believe everything everyone says is exactly spot on. But part of that, my question was going to be, did we take into consideration the demographics of the tenants, of the potential tenants or the future tenants? Some over 55 or a percentage of over 55, you'll get what Mr. Pitts was talking about. People that will say without intimidation, harassment, and threatening, you know, hey, pick that up, young man. Or people that will take care. Because when you take care of your property, it's contagious. If you do something, your neighbor might, or they'll be encouraged to do something that's important for them. So I think that if there's some kind of consideration, any legal way that we could have a percentage of over 55s, because there's plenty of over 55s that are low income.
Yeah.
That are good tenants, that are living in high rises, that would love to have a house.
Right. It's a good question. It's one that came up when I was here about a year ago. I remember we were talking about that. You know, Poplar has historically been a family property, meaning that it doesn't have a senior designation on it. The reason I bring up the history of it is that when we go back to the state, and we have to negotiate with the state about affordable housing and the unit mix, they would likely say keep it family because it has been family. We're already taking away, technically, 144 family units, where there's only 100 family units that remains as a result of this development. So I think it would be harder to add a senior component to it, quite frankly. And I think it's, at this point, not something that we could do. You know, in leasing, we have to abide by all fair housing rules and regulations, meaning we can't discriminate against someone for age, race, you know, disability. So this will be a family property for families that have 60% AMI or below, or who make 60% AMI median income or below.
So it's based on the population of the family.
It's based, well, it would be based on the applicant. So it could be, it certainly could be, it will be a mix. There will be individuals who are 55 plus, individuals who are in their 70s.
Right.
You know, it could be a family that everyone's in their 20s or someone in their 30s. So it will be a mix.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
At some point, you just got to give it some consideration as you grow. If they're going to grow older in a neighborhood, that's what we're looking for. I grew up in this neighborhood. Mr. Thompson over here grew up in this neighborhood.
Right.
Several of us here grew up in this neighborhood. I threw newspapers back there when I was a little boy, and they were the nicest duplexes in the city. You couldn't even get at them. All young couples, teachers, people going to work, law enforcement, firemen, everybody lived back there. And I like what you're doing and it's going to help, you know, but I still think that if you're going to get long term, you're talking 15 years. A 40-year-old that moves in there is 55 by the time you get ready for your next phase. You know me, I don't know if I'll be around or not. But it would be nice to see some quality changes, quality of life. All this other stuff is great. We're talking about coaching people. Some of that you can't coach. People are going to learn from the neighbors. Every block over here has got its own personality, and it's spread. And everybody that comes through is like, this is a great neighborhood. I sold a house in 30 days on Stewart because they know I take care of my property. I want the same thing to happen when I sell East Lawrence.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
My name is Teresa Haley. I'm president of the NAACP. But in addition to that, I've been running an organization called Haley and Associates for the last 15 years, doing training and consulting for state government and for people who look like us. I think it's important that when you look at people to do consulting services, Haley and Associates, 1 in a million, to come back to our communities and teach us how to take pride in our property. I grew up in the John Hay homes. We used to have beautiful lawn contests. When I moved, and I was that 40-year-old grandma, but my daughter graduated from Grambling State University. I'm a homeowner. I take pride in my property. I continue to live on the southeast side because this is where I choose to be. So I think if you have people who look like me, Mr. Pitts, Mr. Williams, and the rest of us coming back to our community, giving back, and teaching them those basic skills, we're going to be successful. So I don't think that we want to say that we don't want people over 55 there, because I was that 40-year-old grandma, and now I'm over 55. But people are going to take care of things that they take pride in. So let's get together, let's teach them, let's love on them. Let's not say, oh, we don't want them here, because you don't know what you're gonna get until you get it. But we have to be willing to plant that seed and stick around and water that seed and see it grow. I think it's a beautiful concept, and I look forward to being involved.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you made some great comments there. What I've noticed at some of our other properties related, we own and manage more than 10,000 affordable units throughout the state of Illinois. There are some properties where the residents have lost their sense of community, where they're not, quite frankly, as organized as we would like them to be, like where we have a resident meeting and only 12 people show up, but a few hundred live on site. I think what this has, since we're in a new beginning, if we can get the residents together early on and create a culture of organization, that would be for the benefit, not only for themselves, but for the property. So I would welcome, your comments and advice and how to do that, especially when we get to completion. And as I mentioned, we will have community space. The community room would be a great area to host meetings. We're building a new management office. There's an existing management office on 25th. That's about 2,500 square feet. We're not going to get rid of that building. That's another building that we can use to help people and to really spread a message about what services are out there. Ultimately, it's our goal to provide quality, affordable housing where we want people to live the life that they so want to live. If that's living in those houses for 5 years or a year, that's great. Ultimately, we want to see people do well. So thank you.
So our next, we're gonna go with Debbie Roper, Pally Hoskins, and who's that?
And Don.
And then Don.
Alderman Williams, this young lady's had her.
Okay, my question is, you said there was going to be a license plate reader at a couple of places, but you're going to have an opening down Livingston into Poplar Place. Is there going to be a license plate reader there?
Currently, no.
Why not?
We are willing to talk about it, though. I see your point. I think that's a good point. I could look into that, and I'd be happy to work with the alderman to look into that. That is a fair point.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Pally Hoskins.
Yeah, my name is Polly Hoskin. I've lived on the southeast side of Springfield for 30 years now. And one of the things I heard in the presentation is that the Springfield Housing Authority is going to be part of the project management. And I think, as all of us know, the Housing Authority is a unit of government. It has monthly meetings. You could not ask for finer leadership than we have at the Springfield Housing Authority. And I think there's an opportunity now for people to have a forum, to take concerns about management, maintenance, and so forth. And I think that's a new thing and an improvement, that could be helpful in addressing, I think, what are some of these very significant concerns about how the maintenance of the property and how the participation of the people and the neighborhood in defining what that maintenance looks like has a place to express the concerns, and I know they would be well responded to.
Yeah, thank you. Really, really good point.
This is Don.
My name is Don. I live on Beach. I live on Beach Avenue and our street is blocked off. And my question is right now, who is responsible for that whole area over there on Poplar Place? Who's responsible at this moment?
Oh, who's managing Poplar currently?
Yes.
We related management. We are managing Poplar currently.
Okay, well, I own 3 houses on Beach, so I kind of run up and down that block doing different things, and I was down there cleaning up that barricade. So I just retired from the coal mine, so I happened to be looking at the power grid coming through there. So there was a fuse that was open. So I walked around to the back of the house to see why that fuse was open. And 3 of those units, meaning the first one at the barricade, the second, and the fourth, all the back doors are open. The one unit that's right beside where the barricade blocks it, there's about 8 raccoons came out of there because I was over there looking at that fuse. So anyway, my question is, if you're gonna renovate all those places or tear a few of them down, you need to get in there now and get the bottom levels boarded up, probably board up the second levels, because the raccoons are packed in there worse than people.
Well, I think you make a good point. I'm smiling because this is a fight that the mayor has been on related about for some time, about boarding up the buildings. We board them up. A lot of squatters come by to Poplar on a regular basis and unboard them. It's a continued fight that we have right now, given the vacancy at Poplar. And the best that we can do is get this development closed and start construction is really the solution to your question.
Okay. Alderman Gray.
I'm just saying hello, and I think the most, for me, and I know it's a couple people in here that reached out to me about jobs and workforce training, so I told them to come tonight because this was the project that I look forward to in our community of really seeing that happen and come to fruition. This is probably the most significant, I've been here 3 years, significant project on the east side dollar-wise that we're gonna have going, so I think it's going to be very, very important to have a seamless process where these ladies and gentlemen can apply and get involved in the redevelopment. That's my most important thing.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you and Alderman Williams involved in the planning process for workforce. We're happy to start those meetings sooner rather than later.
Okay. Questions? That's why we're here. We got a little time for a few more. Anybody got questions? Okay, we'll go with Silas, then Dorothy. I'm sorry, Reverend Johnson.
Oh, me first? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. My name is Silas Johnson, and I pastor Calvary Baptist Church, which is right on the edge of this area, and right on the edge of Brandon. And I also do affordable housing. And you stated that you have, I think it was a 60%, 60% area median income. Not too long, but we just finished what you're doing now. And in our proposal, we had to write in there that every person who moved in had to have a job. Did you put that in your proposal? It doesn't matter what your area income is. You don't have to have a big job, but you have to go to work. You just cannot live in it and not do anything.
No, that's not in our proposal.
That's not in your proposal?
I'm not familiar with that.
That
type of affordable, I mean, maybe it's in the tenant selection plan, is that?
It's in tenant selection plan.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
And to purchase?
Yeah, we're not requiring.
It's a purchase.
Gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, there are no employment standards
For rental?
for renting. As I mentioned, only 25% of the units will be project-based vouchers. So it's either, if someone were to not have any income on Poplar, it's either they're living in a project-based voucher unit, one of the 25 units, or they already have a voucher with the housing authority and are living at the property. But it will be a mix. There'll be people who have income, there'll be people who do not have income.
Okay. Dorothy?
I know you talked about the cameras, the security. Will there be any physical walking security? Is there security officers, police officers? Will there be anything like that, at least for the beginning of it? Well, maybe for the duration, but,
Yeah, we will have security.
because everybody doesn't have a vehicle. I know you talked about.
That's right.
vehicles, But, okay.
Currently, right now, we're using off-duty policemen, and their job mainly is about monitoring squatters and kicking out squatters. Like that's one of our biggest issues are squatters and people dumping on the property. We'll need a different type of security once we get stabilized. So we'll look at, what's a security firm that can come in and, have one car and just drive around the site and make sure things are going the right way. But we do have a budget for security on an annual basis.
And hopefully it'll be like a 24/7 type thing, not just a 7 to 3 and then they go home and then, because, everything happens after a certain time,
Yeah, it will be based on the right hours for the property.
Okay.
So, in Chicago, we are experiencing a heightened level of violence in Chicago. Some of our properties have 24-hour surveillance, but on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, doesn't make as much sense to have 10 security guards. It makes more sense to have 10 security guards at midnight at Saturday night. So that's one component of it. I think what's interesting about what I've observed just for properties throughout our state is that, properties with parking lots tend to attract a lot of unfortunate activity. I think in this case, there's no parking lot at Poplar that can open up for, whatever were to take place there. I do think as a single-family home community, it will naturally be more safer.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions?
Well, that's not a question, but I don't think that was a satisfactory answer. I don't even know this gentleman. I didn't know where he lived, what property he owns, or I didn't know anything about the wildlife in this area. But I can tell you, it's a problem in these places that get unattended or get boarded up. And I know you mentioned, sir, that, well, it's getting the property and getting it developed is an answer, but he's got property now. And I just think that for all of us that live in the southeast and the east and the northeast area of town, if we don't have attention to what's happening in, whether it's boarded up because it's getting prepared for development or whether it's boarded up because nobody's buying it, we got to have a greater response and a more concerted response about mitigating against these things that keep people from living there, staying there. And so perhaps you have...
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't trying to down any of his comments. I was just saying, in a scenario where there are a lot of squatters coming to the property and knocking open doors, it has been difficult to maintain those doors 100% boarded up. We will continue to board up doors. We have a maintenance tech who lives on site. His primary job is to do just that. So, if you do notice things, please let us know, and we're happy to make this, if we're not getting attention to it sooner enough, please let us know and we will get attention there to it.
You inform the maintenance guy, as he has said, right off that barrier, there's some doors open and that first one is full of cones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think if you'd have gave him that answer, everybody here would have been like, wow, he answered the question.
I would go board it up myself.
Yeah, he was going to go board it himself. But as you did say, right now, you guys are running that property, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So just say to Megan, hey, at the meeting, somebody said we got a couple of doors open, there's some cones in there, let's get them out of there.
That's right.
Now.
Real simple.
Now.
All right, thank you.
Well, how would the people get in touch with you?
The alderman or the mayor.
And we know the guy, we know the maintenance man.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
We all know him. He's been around. What we need to do is just communicate that to him. I don't know if you have or not, but I'm gonna make sure now that I communicate it to him because he's always around. And when we communicate that to him, I'll have expectation of him, because I'm gonna share what I'm hearing.
I didn't understand that.
With regards to the critters, what you should do is call Public Health, Sangamon County Public Health, because that is a public health issue. If they can't help you, I think the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, they may have the experts come out and eradicate the situation. But you should report it. Don't hesitate to report it. If you don't know where to do it, usually it's caused by overgrown brush, things of that nature, or even the boarded up situation you can call Public Works. They monitor the boarded up properties and making sure things are cut back. So that'd be 217-789-2255. That's 217-789-2255. Or if those that are tech savvy, you can go to springfield.il.us. I think it's in the first column. There's a drop down where you can report an issue and then just email the situation.
Thank you.
Sherry?
I'm Sherry, and Vice President of the Ernie Bankhead Neighborhood Association, and this is where we are right now, right outside of Poplar Place. And I think that issue is that because you're managing it right now, and that's happening right now, how are we going to avoid that, situation going forward? I mean, those are the kind of things we're seeing now, and you guys are managing it. Are you saying that the Springfield Public Housing is going to be managing, that they're going to be having the security, or how is that going to work?
No, are your comments related to security or to
Security
people
and
accessing
the
buildings?
raccoons and all of that going on. Both, two questions. Because I know Springfield Housing has security, right, in their properties.
Yes.
I know in Brandon they do.
Right.
So are you going to have your security, or is the housing going to have security?
It would be a third-party vendor who's assigned to the property. So it'll be with the housing authority, and related will still be co-manager of the property to bring on a security firm who would, execute on our plans.
So the housing would hire the security team?
That's right. We'd hire a firm to be the security on the property.
And you mentioned that the housing has monthly meetings. Is that monthly meetings with the tenants, or just monthly meetings with the housing?
I don't want to speak for monthly, because I've been on the board, but they have regular meetings. And
The board
they're
or
open
the
to the public.
tenants?
Board. And
So
Ms.
I know, Roy, we had mentioned as association, because he's also our president of the Ernie Bankhead Neighborhood Association, inviting them to be a part of our association. So if the housing already has something, then we may not need to do that.
Yeah, well, we just extended to 23rd Street. Poplar was empty, so we didn't, we went right around it. When it's gonna be full, I think since it's gonna be new people getting a new house, they get a new neighborhood association, whether they join one that exists like Ernie Bankhead, or whether we get one started. As alderman, that's what I've been doing in a lot of these areas. If we don't, if the existing don't want to expand and become bigger, I just start one there. So either way, it's going to be one. Because I think with a neighborhood association and things like the city running the streets instead of them, I just think we can never get back to what we got now. So either way, but you're right, that'll be on the agenda to make a decision about, Anything else before?
No, I used to stay in when it was Garden Court years ago. A lot of what I want to know, are they gonna have basements? Because a lot of those places over there.
All of them have basements.
Yeah, they have basements now, and I won't say.
Yeah, we're
A
gonna.
lot of them do flood.
All of them have basements. We're gonna block them off to tenant access, so there'll only be access for maintenance.
I understand what you're saying.
And what about the flooding part?
Just for the maintenance people,
Right.
but they flood, are you going to take
Okay.
care of that?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that they were flooding was a major issue over there, I will definitely pass that comment along.
And then while you're doing that, you can take care of the doors that are open and nail them shut and the windows shut too at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be watching. I'm sorry.
No problem. Anything else? Anybody? Well, I can't see. Who is that? Raise your hand, please. If you got something. Anybody want to ask anything else? Miss Hayes.
So what I hear behind me, that they're concerned about you closing off the basements, because if you got water sitting, then they're gonna have mold in the basement. It's gonna cause other health issues. So make sure that those basements are properly sealed, which is waterproof, and whatever else you need to do, because that brings along a whole new problem, is what my family and friends are saying behind me.
Right.
They do flood.
Thank you for that. That's what we need. It's a give and take, and we need to hear that. So he's heard a few things that he's going to take back. So, anything else? If not, I'm going to end it. I want to respect your time and thank you for coming out because we try to stay within an hour. I don't even know what time it is. It's like
6:30. 6:30.
I got one more.
Okay.
They have a thing like, this is for the city. When they do the snow and when they pick up leaves, they let the community know. Why come you can't let the community know when you get ready to sweep the streets? And then the streets will be clear, because you can't get down the streets. If you got the streets, you can't get close to the sewer. People got their cars parked. I think you need to put it in the paper, let people know what area you're going to be sweeping the streets. So that can be taken care of.
Yeah, one of the ways you can get the best information is we have neighborhood news that goes out every Friday on that exact item, or if there's road work being done, things of that nature. So if your neighborhood association's not, if they're not signed up, or if you want to sign up as an individual, just go to our website, springfield.il.us, and you can request that you be added to neighborhood news, and you'll get those weekly notifications of what's happening, not only within the city, but also non-for-profit activities as much as possible that we know of. And so it's a weekly update to provide that. But we also do news releases, but those go out like for free leaf pickup. It starts this week. It starts on the southern edge. So it's only as good as the free media that we do get, and that alternates every other week. Right now at South Grand, I think, is the dividing line. Anything south of South Grand will be picked up this week. Next week will be the ones north of South Grand. So, but that's put out there, usually in a general news release. But the best way to get information is with neighborhood news. So if you don't have access or can't find it on the website, just call the mayor's office, 217-789-2200, and ask to be put on that weekly notification.
That's one of the things that Karen, is she still here? Yeah. So she can, all those type of announcements, what he's saying, that schedule can be in that neighborhood news. And then when we get it, we'll know the schedule, like we know the leaf pickup and we know the garbage stuff. Now we'll know when they're scheduled to be in our area for that. Now, the question I have though, so do they put out signs and say no parking because they're coming through tomorrow? Or, the police part of it, the police part of it is, I think, is what they're trying to find out, Because we can know the schedule, but we can't make people, right. So I'll investigate that a little more too and share it with both neighborhood associations. Okay. Anything else?
We have water at the next meeting.
Mike. It's water.
I wonder why they're not going on.
I know. Go ahead, Calvin.
Lastly, real quick, I heard a question earlier about how do you get involved. Anyone interested, I have some paperwork sitting outside. If you're interested in working, if you're interested in training, any of those things. If you are a homeowner in the area and you want to know some of the basic skills that we'll teach, offer to you guys, those are some of the things that Related has also discussed. If you have some young people in the community that maybe don't want to be on this project but want some OSHA training, want to get some certifications, have them reach out. We got paperwork for them to sign because we want to not only get a house and get people living in it, they're serious about raising the community. I visited another project in another city that they're working on, and I see people in that community getting it in, putting it in, and and things look great over there. So I think that we no doubt will be able to replicate that. Okay, so paperwork's outside if you need it. Thank you.
Anything else for related before he goes take his train? Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. We appreciate you, and just contact me or the mayor's office if you have further questions or if something comes up that you think about later. So thank you again. We have the displays here if you want to look at the future and kind of see what they look like.